Alright, hello and welcome to Offworld Workshop. We are doing some practice matches with players who all happen to be in this tournament. So we are on Mars and we have a lot of green prizes and chemical colony. And DT doesn't like this map. What do you think about this map?
I think it's too large. Is it a large map?
I don't think so. It's a medium.
It's a medium? Oh, wow. Yeah, so this map is awful, like you said. There's basically spread out silicon, spread out water. Are there any by clump water anywhere? Let me check real quick. Oh, there are 2 adjacent lows of water. And down there are 5 adjacent lows. So this might be like the only place that is somewhat nuke safe, although
to make it worse, nukes are on the board. The water is going to be awful. So
well, it's a chem colony.
Yeah. So I think the choice of scientific or robotic here. Scavenger might struggle from shipping and the water deficiency. Yeah, I have a bad feeling about this Shadows found because they do have a nice quarry which is vulnerable to nuke, but it's workable. But the thing is, there's nothing nearby.
Okay. So my read on this game right now is actually a very interesting game. I think DT or Tudebag is going to win, and the one of them who wins is the one who gets to HQ2 first and claims the water tiles. And Tudebag went triple steal, and DT only went double steal. So I hope Tudebag is going to be first to HQ2 and claim the water. Let's see. It was first to HQ2. Does it claim the water? Does it claim the water?
Yeah, this triangle water is going to play a big role.
Oh, it doesn't claim the water though.
Oh, where is this claim going?
DT after is he claiming? Yeah, DT saw what I saw, realized whoever claims these wins, and he claims it.
And DT
claims it in a way that nobody else can get up here.
Yeah, this is a strategic play on DT's part. DT claimed 3 center tiles so that now to Toothpick, these single tiles are worthless. They are not really great, although it doesn't have Toothpick doesn't have other adjacent options much.
No, there are literally no other.
Yeah.
Well, okay, there's the double though.
There's a double.
Yeah, I guess. Sorry. There is. Wait, is there anywhere to slant even? Yeah. So one option you can still do as someone else is to slant.
But of course, if I were DT, I would get teleportation, slant drilling as a scientific.
Yeah. Yeah, if DT denies slant drilling, then he cannot lose this game.
Yeah.
So it looks like Tudebag was very interested in this double geo instead of the water. I think he might have missed the water situation here.
Yeah. And now, even though Toothpick has gotten this ambitious multiple steel mills, because they are not making other markets, making other productions, this steel mill is going to tank the price and not going to be as good as it used to be. So you need to divide your markets so that you are safe to those market fluctuations. You make your portfolio.
Yeah, so Tudebag power surges Lit Shadow. I'm not entirely sure why. I guess he might be scared of scavengers in general. And more interestingly to me is there was a nuke on Marlon Iron. So he's in a very precarious spot now. This claim is spent on metal mine will only give him 1 iron per second, which is not enough for anything really. He cannot return the the claim. He basically has a really bad claim now for the rest of the game because of that single nuke.
Yeah.
It's a very, very unfortunate situation. And I would say a bit of a bad luck. One thing you can do is claim your tiles in such a way that there's a plan B in case you get nuked. So, for example, if you claim the other high iron, he could have built another mine next to it, and getting 3 iron per second, which is more than enough. And if he gets further nuked, he can transition them into double, what are those called? Double solar condensers to get dry ice, which, by the way, someone should really do because oxygen is really expensive.
Wow.
Solar condensers are the best buildings in on this map right now.
On chat, Blues has pointed out that the chem shortage is going to make the patents very hard, and I agree with that. DT, if there was no chem shortage, chemical would have stayed at 100 or so with the colony consumption. But because of the shortage, DT could not take advantage of it, could not make early patent plays. So Toothpick still has chance to make money on chemical. Although it's going to be very difficult because fuel is hard to produce for Toothpick, and fuel prices rising because of all the shipping.
I don't understand this chemical at all.
Yeah.
And so I don't understand why silicon is only 29. The silicon situation in this map is god awful.
Yeah.
And the glass is super expensive. I will stockpile some silicon. And yeah, I mean, how can DT lose this? I don't know. And oh yeah, Blues also pointed out that solars don't feel good with glass is expensive, but they only cost 1,300 to build. And DT, who has a triangle right now, if you hold the X key there, you can see how profitable they are. That's really good money, and it earns you back the investment in like 5 seconds.
So good.
So fuel started actually at 20 this game, which made early chem somewhat reasonable. But it's 180 now, and it's not just because Tudorback is making chems. We actually have... Yeah. Do you want to talk about this?
So, it's in simple word, it's a lot of shipping happening. Each tile is losing 92 in net value. And that is going to tank DT, tank Lich Shadow's that situation, and that's going to be very cheap, result in very cheap stock price. And if somebody has a cash lead, they might shift by you.
Yeah. So let's see. Okay, with water engine, this play could work. But it's still like kind of a wasted claim. You don't need this much water.
Yeah.
We're not surprised, just disappointed in you.
Water was going to be important, but this will kill it before water becomes very important.
Yeah. So he's in triple reactor now, which means he's not actually losing any debt. But that means he's also not making any money out of this.
Yeah.
So all the fuel he makes just goes to shipping the water he needs to make the fuel. So it's a really inefficient setup. And this is why DT, so this map called this map awful, because there's no really good way to do this.
Yeah.
Could have seen a dry ice scav on the water tiles DT took, maybe.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, nothing feels good on this map, and that's the problem. And that's also why I called DT a winner as soon as he got to HQ2, because water is really important, even if there's not this crazy amount of shipping. And DT is the only one who can safely do water stuff. And now he even has teleportation.
Try a scavenger style.
The black market is open.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, founding dry ice might be difficult. But definitely after the natural shortage on oxygen, someone should have went into it. Then DT did go into it. So yeah, like after the Sol 5 take, if not before, Lich Shadow will be really cheap to buy.
Yeah, D+1, half the stock price of a Toothpick almost.
Yeah. And let's see, DT. Oh yeah, DT, like you said, he is getting Slanterling. He doesn't need Slanterling. He's getting this because the only way he loses this game is if someone else gets into the water market, and the only way that happens is if they get Slanterling. So if he gets it, like, Yeah, he can't lose.
Yeah. He has keen eyes on the future sports state of the game.
Yeah.
And
And the current board state.
yeah,
So
he
what's happening
executes
here?
it perfectly. Right
Can
now,
you talk us through?
DT is using the cash advantage he have at hand. He is trying to go for a majority buyout on Toothback, and you can have a general sense of whether you're going to succeed in it or not, because if you hover over other players, you'll be able to see the amount of money they have on hand on cash and resources, so you can guesstimate the amount of money they will have by the time you finish this buy. And Toothback did not have enough money, and DT did have enough money.
Yeah. And also, neither of the other players had enough money to punish DT for it, because DT doesn't own himself, so he's vulnerable to this. But he's only vulnerable to people who have money. And yeah, so it was a really safe, really good play. It speeds up the game a lot for him.
Yeah.
And yeah, a good way to, I guess you covered this, but you hover over people in the top right. I wasn't watching your stream, I don't know if you showed that. So this is one of the most important pieces of information this game has. The cash plus resources of your enemies.
Yeah.
Do you think that information should be available directly on the scoreboard? Should we have to watch the tooltip to see it?
Well, there are arguments for and against it. For would be that you have to see it anyway, everybody has to see it. Against it is that you don't have to see it, you will automatically see it, and the game will might become a bit more boring because you can just see it. It's like playing a StarCraft with map pack, I guess.
The game becomes a bit too easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an argument for that. I'm not sure if that's a good argument, but it's an argument.
New land is available for auction.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to see it either, just because I am really good at this game, so I get an advantage over needing to use the tooltip. So it's a very egoistic reason, really. But I think it might be better for the game if it was visible. I'm also really humble. Yeah.
Okay. This channel goes for more water. I am very concerned about this.
Oh. Yeah,
No.
I don't think more water is the solution.
Yeah, more water is not the solution. The only method you can support this is by having a water engine.
Yeah, which the robot has when power is $1. So, why is water engine a bit silly? Because when you have it, you will use the lower of your natural fueling, which for robot is power and water, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he would much rather pay the $1 for power than the 180 for water. So water engine doesn't really make sense, and it will never really make sense on a map like this. Because there's so little water to go around.
Yeah. Okay, DT takes one company at a time and lands 2 majority buyouts on Toothbag and Tail, and we are waiting for DT to finish this up by getting the money he needed to finish the channel.
Yeah.
Optimization.